Total Financial Hour. Now Arif has...
Hey, welcome to the show, the Total Financial Hour. I'm Arif Halaby. Thanks for being with us this hour of the program. Joined by, of course, Logan Halaby. You guys have known him. Look, our objective here today is to kind of clean up some of your financial knowledge. Look, all of us go through life. We think we know what it is, what it takes to be successful, what that looks like financially, why we sit down with hopefully our spouse every month and lay out a financial plan when we're paying our bills. It doesn't take a very dramatic depth of knowledge to pay your bills. It doesn't take an enormous amount of knowledge and concepts of financial stories in order to get a paycheck. Right? So we wake up, we get to age 18, suddenly you're responsible for filling out your own taxes and nobody tells you how to do it. So a lot of what we do, one, at Total Financial Solutions, but two, on the show here, is to kind of demystify and simplify some of the things that we should have been planning about and learning about, I think, in junior high. The moment you really have a concept of how money works, whether you think you're earning it because of your parents, they make money. Hey, Dad, just go to the machine and put in that ATM card. It gives you money all the time. Why can't we keep doing that? And a lot of that happens when you're trying to fill out your financial taxes each and every year, the FAFSA form. And by the way, for a lot of you that have young people getting ready to go to college, this evening at City Hall at 7 p.m., we're going to be running a program on how to complete the FAFSA form, and that's the financial form required in order to get into colleges and get student loans and grants and scholarships, etc. So get a hold of Assemblyman Dante Acosta's office. You can also, I think, just show up as well. It's going to be at City Hall, at the Chambers, specifically for the filling out, understanding what is included, what isn't included in the FAFSA form. Okay, that's just a side note. And I think that's another part of it. Logan, we have seen people time and again try to plan for their financial life. For example, they start a new company. Here's a 401k. What do I put money in? Should I put this much or that much? Right? A lot of folks don't understand it.
And a lot of the times, even the HR person or whoever's at the company that's, here's the new company intake, fill out forms X, Y, and Z. They don't even know it's option A, so this, and that, and well, which one really sounds the best? I don't know, just kind of pick one is what you're told.
And that's what happens. A lot of folks will look at rates of return. They'll go to the end and they'll say, what's the best interest rate? Well, that interest rate or that average rate of return or whatever it might be that you're trying to guide yourself with was based on last year's economics, was based on 2 years ago's financial story of the United States, the debt, the interest rates, the job numbers, all of those things dictate the average rate of return of maybe a particular fund that you're looking at. And so today and moving forward this year, it's different. But you're still thinking that, well, I'm going to go off of what the average interest rate has been in the last 5 years. Well, that's irrelevant to the next 5 years. It has nothing to do with anything. It's a conversation about nothing. So you have to really figure out how are you going to sit and create a financial plan so your family can reach the goals. And when I say financial plan, it isn't those silly things that your broker gives you with pie charts and graphs that try to, oh, this is how I'm smart and you're not, right? This is a 57-page document. I had this the other day. A client shows me a 142-page document. All of their wealth and their savings and how much they should save for Jimmy and Susie's college and all of those things. And I said, well, okay, great. How much have you implemented? What are you doing? He says, I'm not really sure. And by the way, by the time he brought it and showed it to me, the numbers had changed anyway. I was like, so these things are right now. It's a snapshot in time. It's this moment. Other than that, the financial plan often that your broker or brokerages, companies will give you is kind of irrelevant because it doesn't include so many variables when things change at a moment's notice. You were laid off. You got a second job. You got a pay raise. You got a pay deduction. All of those things change. So when I say the word financial plan, I'm talking about your family's financial plan. How much you should put aside for your emergency accounts. What does it look like for your retirement? When do you plan on going to move or downsize your house, if at all? These are things that the conversations at your dining room table, maybe on a Sunday afternoon, That has to happen. And I know it's yucky, and I know sometimes it ends up in an argument. Why are you spending this much money? Why did you pick the hobby? You bought that thing and never used it. Maybe it's a treadmill. I don't know. I call them clothes hangers, but sometimes people call them treadmills. I get it. But you have to work through the argument. You have to work through the conversation about where the money went and why it ended up in a place that you're ashamed or embarrassed or not sure. Okay. Well, that's important, you know that, because your family can't decide where and how to spend money 30 years from now when the time has passed. Right? This is a big deal. Your family, you have to decide this ahead of time. And the planning part of it, Logan, when we talk about emergency accounts, we're usually looking at about 6 months of your bills, maybe a little more, a little less.
And some of that depends on what's going on. A lot of the times people think that could be a higher number than it actually is. If it's an actual emergency, most people will normally cut down some of their spending anyway, but focus definitely to make sure you take care of your housing costs, car costs. Don't necessarily budget for a vacation in those 6 months, but make sure you're able to take care of everything you're going to need in 6 months, and that includes maybe a little extra for medical bills. Or
Yeah, that's right.
do you have, if your medical assumptions are one person ill, what if it's two? What if two people are in the same car accident and both have issues? That's the kind of things you have to do, and other parts of your financial plan help with that as well.
I spoke to somebody yesterday, and they said, Arif, you realize how much we pay in insurance? If you added up all of the insurance, because they have a rental property, so that means there's a liability policy and another homeowner's policy and car insurance and disability and on and on. You realize, guys, that if you didn't pay your insurance and you saved that money, you could probably pay off, I don't know, maybe one of your cars. But one accident, one problem, and the whole world has changed for you, right? An unexpected death in a family of a main breadwinner, somebody who is creating income, creating wealth. You've built your, quote, financial plan, whether it's the financial planner or you at your dining room table. You've built that to have a certain amount of income coming in for the next 10 or 15 or 30 years, whatever it is. And if something changes along the way, whether it's an illness, whether somebody passes away, then the plan is irrelevant. It's just something that's written down on paper. It's ridiculous. So we have to have a backup plan, like a plan B or a plan C even. And that comes into play when we say, how do we create for you? How do you create a backup plan? Well, sometimes that's insurance, guys. Nobody likes it. Nobody wants to pay for something they're not going to use or they're hoping to not use, right? Just like car insurance. Last year, if you had car insurance and you didn't get in an accident, do you get your money back? Well, most of the time, no. Right? Even in California, it's funny when you watch one of the commercials, they say, I get a good driver discount. I get my money back. And then in the small print underneath it, right, I think it's Liberty Mutual or something, it says, not available in California. If you don't realize we are in one of the most corrupt financially states that is probably, because of its size, ever existed. We have a one-party state rule, and some of you hopefully aren't going to vote party lines because you're going to realize through math and logic that we have one party that's running the state, and we have for quite a long time. So the debt, I don't want to say bankruptcy, but it's pretty darn close to the pension system, right? We're 400 billion upside down in the pension system. So when you have a state that's run where it says, the old damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead, and it's doubling down on its far left agenda, you don't have an option when you are thinking your financial plan says, I'm going to live in the state, or I'm a state worker, or I'm expecting a pension. Maybe things are going to change. Just today, we got word that 2 of our clients were laid off. Now, you realize this is one of the best economies we've ever had in the country in 40 years, 50 years. And yet, people are still getting laid off in the state of California. Companies are still leaving the state of California. Businesses are still shutting down and not hiring in the state of California. So part of your backup plan isn't just for insurance in case somebody passes away or gets in a car accident. It's, oh my gosh, my company is located in one of the most crooked run states when it comes to our state assembly, our one party governor who controls all the parts. And it isn't just one. Look, guys, it isn't, for the sake of being too political, it isn't just liberal. The liberals of yesterday are considered conservative today. If you think, race doesn't matter, if you think the integrity of the person, the individual is supposed to matter, that was Martin Luther King's ideas. That was John F. Kennedy's ideas. That's not acceptable in a place where everybody gets to be put in their own little box. Right? If you were to say, if you're somebody that supports racial segregation in dorm rooms, if you're somebody that accepts racial segregation in graduations, do you realize that is the far KKK South from the 40s and 50s? Oh, no, it's called the Progressive Democrat Party. They're the ones that think that you should have a separate Harvard graduation for minorities. So I'm sharing that with you because there are a lot of states where people are getting pay raises multiple times a year. There are a lot of locations and companies that have left the state of California and they can't hire enough people in other states, Nevada and Texas and Washington and Idaho and Colorado and Arizona, right? So if you have a backup plan that says I'm going to stay in California and my pension is counting on the state, then you need to have another plan, because I think something's going to happen to the pension system.
And even if you are someone who doesn't work for the local government, no one in your family does, whether it's city, state, county, if you live here and you pay taxes in here, guess who's going to end up footing the bill when things start to happen in the rest of the pension system? The money is still owed by whatever government agency or organization that the people worked for. And when they're suddenly having to pay and the money isn't there, well, what's the revenue source for a government?
That's right, taxes.
It's the people who work there.
And consider this for a minute. Part of the challenge when you're building your financial life is the taxes that you're going to have to pay. In the state of California, for example, our income tax is one of the highest in the country. We also have one of the highest sales tax. We also have one of the highest property taxes. Not the highest. Certain other states have high property taxes, much, much higher than California, I understand. But usually that's their main source of revenue, right? You pick one of those three, sales tax, income tax, or property tax. The states in the United States have selected one of those as their main revenue source, and the others are reduced. That's why people will move to Washington and they shop over in Oregon, right? Because Oregon doesn't have sales tax, Washington doesn't have income tax. So they'll cross border like that, especially when they're buying, big ticket items. But when the state of California chose to have high sales tax, high income tax, and higher than expected property tax, when those businesses leave the state, who do you think has to pay the bills? I think it's going to be your property, right? You've heard me say this before. Proposition 13, hooey, doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Oh, yeah, but they passed a bill, passed a law. It's not politically acceptable. I get it. They're just going to call it an assessed fee. They're going to put it on the ballot. Some of you have voted for some of this corny stuff on the ballot that says, well, it's for the children. It's for the children. And it's for older people and nurses and firemen and policemen and old people and children. And you go, oh my gosh, look at that ad. That ad, it's for the people. And they create these funky names to it that say things like safe streets. I don't know, making that up. Guaranteed income for older generations. Oh gosh, I want that. So instead of reading it, right, instead of doing, audio, books on tape and have Siri read it to you or something, you just say, oh, I like the title. It means our streets are going to be safer. Who do you think is going to pay that? It isn't the millennials who are going to vote for it because they're broke. Right? It's the folks that are working, who are busy, who can't protest, who are busy, who can't take time off of work to go stand in front of a congressman's office and be a disruptive, rude individual. It's you, because you have a job.
And you might be thinking we're exaggerating or making some of this stuff up, but last time you registered your car, what's it supposed to be? you pay for your car registration, and that should include your registration for the car. That's the little sticker. It's a pretty expensive little sticker that goes on the license plate. But if you've got it done in the past few months, maybe last year or so, what have you noticed?
Yep, a fee.
It's the licensing fee.
Yeah.
So there's the registration, which was a few $100s, whatever it is, depending on your car, and then the licensing fee, and then maybe there's something else. What's going to come next? Is it going to be the convenience fee to pay your property taxes online? It's going to be, there's something.
And they do that on affordable housing. Well, gosh, I think affordable housing is a good idea. Affordable. Read it. Do you realize they are chasing people out of California?
Things are really affordable when someone else pays for it for you.
That's children's hospitals, though. It's for the children, you guys. You meanie? Why would you not? Oh, well, this is only $1.5 billion for improvements of children's hospitals. And don't worry, because it's not expected after interest. It's only going to double, about $3 billion. Well, that's nice. You think that's somebody else's money, folks. It's yours. My point is, when you are building your financial life, you have to realize that no matter what these crazy propositions and laws and executive orders that come out of Governor Brown, I don't know where this guy gets his ideas from, but it's certainly not logic and math. It's from the far left progressive ideas of this is how I'm going to run a state. And so when they do that, folks, you are stuck paying the bills. So the math, it's nice when you go to work and you're busy, but you realize this impacts your future and your retirement. I want you to understand this because as you are building your financial life, there's an impact outside of your control. And yes, insurance is a cost. And yes, food and groceries and clothing and minimum wage, those are expenses. I get it. But so are some of these laws that come out of Sacramento and Washington, D.C. So be very careful when you are voting for these things. Make sure you understand what you're voting for. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the pensions and Social Security and annuities. What do they have in common? Do you actually know that there's a similarity between all three of those? Much more than you might even think when we return. On your place for news, talk, and information, this is your hometown station, KHTS. It's AM 1220 and FM 98.1. We're Total Financial Solutions on AM 1220, 98.1, KHTS.
Little Eye Leaders is the newest preschool in the Santa Clarita Valley. At Little Eye Leaders, our outstanding teachers lead with intellect, perspective, and heart. That means our programs provide a warm, nurturing atmosphere to meet the unique needs of each child. We believe that play is a powerful form of learning for young children. That's why our kids have every opportunity to learn through the magic and excitement of play. Parents, schedule a tour today by calling 303-0400 or online at littleeyeleaders.org.
Your building sign is essential in getting customers to your location. Feathers can help get your business noticed. They walk you through each phase of your building sign project, providing special attention to detail and quality. Feathers will give you a sign you can be proud of. Your building sign will draw customers in instead of having them drive by. Feathers on Soledad in Canyon Country, across from the Edwards Theater. Or go to feathersphoto.com. That's feathersphoto.com.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
This Christmas, join us for the ultimate holiday concert, A Very Merry Christmas with the Letterman, Sunday, December 9th, 5 p.m. at the Santa Clarita Performing Arts Center. The legendary Letterman here in Santa Clarita singing your favorite holiday classics. Joining them is Santa Clarita's singing sensation, Savannah Burrows, along with our very own West Ranch High School choir. You'll also hear the Letterman perform their string of top 10 hits. A Very Merry Christmas with the Letterman.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
The Letterman, Savannah Burrows, and West Ranch Choir, Sunday, December 9th. For tickets, visit canyonspack.com.
Merry Christmas.
Who says fun is just for weekends? Come live it every day at Skyline, a new kind of master plan community with indoor and outdoor lifestyle amenities perched in the beautiful hills of Santa Clarita, with nearly 1,600 acres of open space, also known as your new backyard. Prices start in the mid-500s. Come for our grand opening event November 3rd with live performances, food trucks, craft beer, and model tours. RSVP at lifeatskyline.com. Join us November 3rd and get a taste of life wide open.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Financial security will help you live the life you dream. Learn about financial power, the total financial hour. Now higher income strategy. Learn from Arif Halaby. Learn about financial power, the total financial hour.
Hey, welcome back to the show, the Total Financial Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, along with Logan Halaby, and we're talking about your family's finances. Okay, a little bit of the political stuff is over, but get the concept here, folks, that your vote, number one, matters. Number two is you have to be educated. You see, it used to be that education was something you'd have to go get, and you'd come back. And you say, let me tell you what I found out. It used to be education was something, financial or otherwise, that you would have to go out and bring back to those that were, quote, less educated. But today the world is different. That's why if you come this evening to City Hall, we have a program on college planning, if you will, how to plan for your college when it comes to filling out the FAFSA form, what's countable, what's not countable. It's a good idea for you to come if you have a young person in the 10th, 11th, 12th grade, maybe even in the 9th, 10th grade, somewhere in that world, where they have a chance to come and learn how you can prepare and plan and structure. Why? Because I think for most of you, the idea of going to college at your age, right, if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s, it was the only option to getting information. Today, information, education comes to you. So don't think that you have to spend an arm and a leg, take money out of your retirement account, sell off your rental property in order to fund your child's college. It's not the case. If you have a young person that's going to school and their career is so fine-tuned, right? They want to be in government, working in law, maybe even be a judge or a Supreme Court judge someday, that kind of thing, fine. Georgetown Law, that's the place to go. Harvard, maybe, right? But if it's going to be a person who's going to have, I don't want to say an average everyday career, but if you're going to be an educator, what's the difference if you go to Harvard or if you go to Cal State Northridge after 2 years at College of the Canyons? When you go get a job at any school district, your pay is exactly the same. You understand that. Except one has $150,000 in student loan debt, and the other one has a brand new car and maybe a condo. That's the trade-off. Don't be thinking that your objective is to get your child into the best school forever so that they can become something that has a predetermined fixed pay scale. Especially today. If you want to learn anything, you just go to your fancy Google device and you say, how do I learn to speak French? Beep. I want to build a car. How do I build a nuclear reactor? You understand all of these things can be done in 4.6 seconds of your search. So it used to be that you had to go get knowledge. Today it comes to you. Be very careful when you're spending money. My concern is this. A lot of you are foregoing your retirement savings. A lot of you are pushing off saving for retirement. So you think you need $100,000 in each of your child's college planning or whatever it is, your funds. I don't think that's the case. I think you have to think twice about how you save for your retirement and think twice about how you're saving for your child's college. Because, Logan, you've graduated college when you were 19 with your bachelor's. So you were young, certainly younger than the average. And that was 4 or 5 years ago. So you were in a position to not have any student loan debt, but we required something first as your parents. What did we require your first 2 years of college to be?
Had to be at College of the Canyons, going through the gen ed and everything like that. And a big part of it, too, that helped me is I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I knew I liked a few things. I didn't like a few things. Took a programming class. Found out I'm not meant to be a programmer, at least at that stage. Enjoyed it. Did okay in the class, but it just wasn't clicking for me the way other subjects did. I took a class on like Photoshop or something like that. Enjoyed that. And I was able to figure out what I wanted to do. And that led me down the path of where to study, what to study. Look at it in your own lives, folks. How many of you worked your entire life since graduating college in the same profession you majored in?
Yeah, it doesn't happen. 70% of the folks don't even work in the career in which they earn their degree. That's stunning to me. And in addition to that, some of the best men and women that I've worked with in various industries are those that never even got a college degree in that field at all. Because today you can learn. Today you can figure it out on your own. And this whole concept of Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Martin Luther King, and holidays, Memorial Day weekend off, that's a hogwash. You want to learn something tonight when you go home, learn. You want to learn something this Saturday, learn it. It isn't this preservation for the elite to go out to be able to afford 4 years away from society so that they can go and learn and be educated so they can return. That doesn't exist anymore. Okay, it's not easy, so what? Nothing is easy. It wasn't easy for me. But it's simple. It's hard work. And if you are one of those that are fortunate enough to have a pension, which are only about 19% of America today, 19%. 3% are private companies. 16% are government workers that have a pension. So, if you are somebody who has worked hard at a job, and then you get wind that you're going to have to raise your taxes, they're going to have to take more money from your taxes so that you could make sure you pay more in taxes, so the government worker can get a better pension and retire at 55 or 60, and you're still working at 65, I think there's going to be a social clash. I think there's going to be a social clash when teachers and police officers and firefighters and government workers, I'm not saying they're bad guys. I'll give you my opinion if you're surprised that I may not give it to you. Just hold on. I'll tell you my opinion in a minute. But don't think that there isn't going to be a social clash between a 32-year-old teacher who is a single mom of 2 kids and mentored under a lady who's today now retired and 68 years old, and many years ago they worked together. Don't think that 32-year-old mom who has to pay now an additional $200 or $300 or $400 a month out of her pocket so that the 68-year-old teacher can stay retired and her latest selfie is from Fiji or Hawaii, and this lady is now a single mom and could barely. You don't think there's going to be a 2-tier pushback? I do. I think you're going to have a wait a second. I'm working hard. Why do they get to retire at a younger age? Why do they get to? My pension is less than it will ever be. I have to put in more money than I ever had to. And I'm getting some great images on social media of retirees who are living longer, right? Y'all ain't dying like you used to. I think there's going to be some social pushback. That's a prediction. That's what I believe. I don't know. I just think there's going to be, now maybe it can be hidden, right? Just like Hillary Clinton tried to hide her emails. She got caught because the wrong guy was elected in her eyes. I think if the wrong person is elected, according to the union world, I think you're going to have some pushback. I think people are going to be exposed for promising things that for the prison guards, right? Ask Gray Davis. Look, prison guards are nice people. They do a job that I wouldn't do, probably for twice the money. But when a politician comes in, promises stuff, and then lives in another state, right? I mean, you understand that. They have a home. Their residence is in another state. They promise stuff. They give away your money. And then they retire somewhere else where, sorry, I guess the state laws here say I pay nothing in income tax.
Based on a pension from California.
That's a very sneaky thing that these politicians do. Or they go and they lobby, or they get a job as a consultant, and that pay runs through their corporation that's in a different state. And they go, sorry, guys, I don't know. So I think we need to address it before it becomes a real social problem later on down the road. Because right now, your pension is similar to Social Security in the sense that you've given up a chunk of dollars for a payment each and every month. Right? You're saying, hey, listen, I just want a guaranteed pension. I want a guaranteed payment. Nothing wrong with that. That's called an annuity. Right? Social Security and pensions work the same as an annuity. Maybe for some, an annuity is a bad word. In fact, I think variable annuity is a bad word. I don't like variable annuities. I don't like it when you pay a fee and you can lose your money. I don't care what you call it. You can call it, Scooby-Doo 9000. It doesn't matter to me. Call it whatever you want. I pay a fee and I lose my money. The broker doesn't ever lose, and I sometimes win and sometimes lose. To me, that doesn't seem like a good system, right? When Wall Street can never lose. And I love it. I saw this recently where one of the brokers said, yeah, but you don't understand, we do better when our clients do better. I said, that just means you make more money when they make money, and you still make money when they lose money. Well, that's not the way we look at it. Of course not, because you're the one getting it.
How does the client look at it when they just see things go down in their numbers?
How many of you just lost money in your accounts in the last 8, 9, 10 months? You realize the last 10 months, nearly all of the earnings, if not all and then some, that you made in your retirement accounts in the market is gone. But in the last 10 months, whether you pay a fee monthly or quarterly or whatever, the last 10 months, your broker has made a fee and has never lost. They had a great year. Because when your accounts were up, they charged you a fee on the higher number. Isn't that exciting? And when your accounts are down, they charge you a fee.
And one thing that people often don't realize and think about is it's a 1% fee per year. And I've made 20% overall. Okay, well, in 10 years, that means you've paid how much in fees versus the actual interest you've earned? Because it's cumulative. Every time, high or low, market's done well, market hasn't. It's like clockwork. They've got it on auto withdrawal. That's their direct deposit. It's coming from your account to theirs.
It is, and I want you to always do the math on dollars. You don't spend percentages at the grocery store. You spend dollars. So when you hear some of our shows, we'll talk about some of the tricks and ways that brokers, and I think some of the things they do on purpose or on accident, whether they're sneaky or how they confuse you, is they'll flip between percentages and dollars. Because 1%, that's a small number. 1%. And then when you talk about, I opened my account with $100,000 7 years ago, and today it's worth $160,000. Okay. So what they try to condition you to do is you think, well, I paid 1%, so I've paid $1,600 in fees, and I have $60,000 in my account. See? 1,600 equals 60. That's the trick. I think you have to say, if I'm adding up the interest cumulative, in other words, from the day I put it into today, then you add up the fees from the day I put it in till today. For those algebra folks, keep the denominator the same. Whatever the fees were in time, annual, then what did you make annual? Or what did you lose annual? If the fees are annual, in other words, what you paid this year, then you only get to count the interest that you made this year. You don't get to count them both. So I think sometimes Wall Street, and I'm convinced they know what they're doing. I speak at other financial guys and gals, and I teach them once in a while, a few times a year. And there's a room full of them, and I can tell you, they know that you don't understand your statements. They know that when they bury you with a 100-page financial plan that you're never going to read it, certainly you're never going to understand it, and 2, that you won't say anything about it. You'll just smile and nod. A couple of things. Oh, wow, the furrow of the brow. Yeah, right? You'll do that so that you sound smart. And usually the one that is afraid of sounding not too smart will ask a question, something, basic, so that it looks like they're intelligent and paying attention. And then at the end, they'll walk away, and the broker will say whatever, and the client will say, I have no idea what just happened. If that sounds like you, not because you're bad or your broker's bad, it's called the system, then maybe we can help. Our job is to keep things simple. Our job is to keep things easy to understand. It's not my job to make you feel dumb so I can feel smart. It isn't my job to make you feel like you need me, and without me, you're just a mess. No, my job is to help you keep some or part of your money safe. We're not going to make you rich. That's not my job. It's to keep you from being broke. And that's a different objective. It's a different place. It's a different mindset, right? A progressive's job in the political world is to get more government control. The individual shrinks. Government is bigger. The conservative's job is to get government smaller and make the individual larger. Your personal rights, your personal values, your personal abilities are emphasized. Well, that's what we do. Our job is to make you more important than the companies. And that's a pretty big concept, because as we go through the process of kind of building your wealth, you're the one that's going to end up with the money. We're hoping it's not the company. All right? We see it all the time.
And how many of you are treating your financial person with a different set of standards compared to other people in your life? If you go to the doctor and he uses big medical mumbo-jumbo Latin words, and at the end of the day, nothing's changed. You got charged for the appointment and you still feel bad. Nothing changed. You're still hurting. Something's wrong. Would you go back to that doctor? Is he providing an experience that's helpful? Was it worth anything to go to him? You go to a mechanic, same thing. It's the transmission, dynamo, turbocharger thing, and pay me this much, and your car still drives poorly? Why would you hold your financial person, who's dealing with something a lot more impactful than just your car? Why do you let things lapse?
Yeah, that's a great point, Logan, because a lot of times in the other parts of our life, if we don't understand something, we go, whoa, back up. I need to understand this. It isn't the old world where you sat down with your doctor and your doctor just said some big words and gave you a prescription and you went and took it. You actually went home and looked it up. You went to the WebMDs or to the Bings or the Yahoo search engines, and you start playing with, wait a second, this prescription might hurt my kidneys, or it might hurt me here, or this can help me there. You come a lot more informed to the party when it comes to your health. You come a lot more informed to the party when it comes to your car. Right? Your car actually tells you, here's the problem. You click on a button, or you go to your cell phone these days with the apps, and it will tell you, this is what I see wrong. Take it to the dealer. When you go to the dealer, you have now a better idea. It used to be, and I had a cousin that married a guy who was not an honest businessman when it came to cars. And I remember we were sitting around talking. I was still on the police department back then, and we were sitting around, and his mechanic shop was not too far from the station that I worked at. And he was so proud that he was able to trick people when it came to oil changes and putting in air filters and overcharge them. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, doesn't have any guilt or shame about doing this. This is what he calls a game or fun. And so I asked him, and I said, how do you tell? How do you know when you can rip this person off but not that person? I didn't say rip off, whatever word I used. And he said, well, here's what you do, Arif. When they come in their car, if they have no idea what's wrong, if they don't use any big words when it comes to their automobile, they make noises like the car bings and dangs. And, when I put the key in and I try to start it up, right? When they don't use the word ignition, they use the word start. Or they don't use the word transmission. They don't use big words. He said, then I think they don't have any idea how a car works. I thought, wow. Yeah, this is back 30 years, guys. I thought, wow, here is somebody who has perfected his skill in scamming people. And he did so for $25, whatever an oil change and an air filter, whatever those things cost. Nothing. So this is your retirement. And I don't care if the financial person looks the part, right? My cousin's husband was a mechanic. They're divorced now, thankfully. But my cousin's husband was a mechanic, so he looked the part. He had the light blue jumpsuit. He had greasy hands, and right, that was his job. So when you go to your financial professional and they look the part, it doesn't mean that they still aren't doing things that may not be in your best interest. You still have to ask the questions. I want you to be informed. Make sure what you're doing is suitable. Make sure what you're doing is not going to harm you. All right, we're going to come back. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks. How do you ask the right questions? How do you know if you're getting taken? How do you know if the pension or the plan that you're trying to put together for yourself, called your own retirement, how do you know if you're not going to be taken for a ride? We'll give you a couple of tips and tricks when we come back. On the Total Financial Hour, I'm Arif Halaby. That's Logan. On your place for News Talk Information, this is the Total Financial Hour on KHTS. We'll be right back.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Marston's Restaurant has been a Pasadena landmark, voted the best breakfast in California by the Food Network magazine. Discover Marston's Santa Clarita location, open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Marston's also has a fantastic catering menu that adds a delicious twist to any event. And they cater picnic dinners for that memorable romantic date. Experience Marston's on Newhall Ranch Road and McBean, or log on to marstonsrestaurant.com.
Finding the right lawyer can be a challenge, but in Santa Clarita, there's no need to search when there's Hacker Law Group, Santa Clarita's premier litigation firm. Jeffrey Hacker has represented celebrities, financial institutions, accident victims, real estate developers, realtors, contractors, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and other individuals and companies with their legal challenges. Mr. Hacker is one of Santa Clarita's leaders, consistently listed as one of our most influential. When everything is on the line and you need legal counseling, visit hackerlawgroup.com.
Do you think taxpayers should pay for politicians' political campaigns? Assembly candidate Christy Smith does. Christy Smith supports raising our taxes. But guess where the money would go? Christy Smith wants to spend as much as $600 million in taxpayer money paying for the annoying mail and TV that politicians bombard us with. Let that sink in. Assembly candidate Christy Smith wants you to pay for political campaigns, even for those politicians you disagree with. Let that sink in. Christy Smith would spend $600 million for politicians instead of better roads or better schools for our kids. Christy Smith is just wrong.
Women deserve equal pay for equal work. It's just that simple. That's what's good about Assemblyman Dante Acosta. Dante Acosta voted to require equal pay for equal work. And Dante Acosta voted to let every child attend pre-kindergarten. That's Dante Acosta. Bipartisan, independent, fair.
Paid for by Dante Acosta for Assembly 2018.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Financial security will help you live the life you dream. Learn about financial power, the total financial hour. Now higher income strategy. Learn from Arif Halaby. Learn about financial power, the total financial hour. Now,
Hey, welcome back to the show, The Total Financial Hour. I'm Arif Halaby. Thanks for staying with us. That's Logan Halaby as we're talking about your family's financial life. KHTS, your hometown station. We come to you every week at this time. Look, you have a great opportunity to learn. You can go back and pull some of our podcasts. You can certainly go to Facebook, hometownstation.com. Click on the Facebook page, what is that called? Icon. That'll take you over to the page, and you can pull up some of the old shows. The concept of understanding how do you make sure you're dealing with a good financial professional? How do you make sure you're not going to make a mistake or deal with somebody who doesn't have your best interest at heart? First of all, realize that everybody is in business, right? Whether it is the existing financial professional or a new one or us or them, all of us have bills that we have to pay. So I never want you to be like some of you ladies, you know who your husbands are. They're always trying to get a deal. They're always trying to go for the cheap instead of the inexpensive. That's fine, but understand that if you want a professional, you're going to have to pay for a professional. What I don't want you to do is to pay for a professional and get a scammer, okay? So that's kind of important. So there's a couple places or a couple things that I want you to do first.
In the financial realm, it's very highly regulated, more than some people actually think. And you can look under the Department of Insurance for the state. You can look at FINRA, is the main organization for the securities side, like stocks and the things that go up and down.
Yeah, by the way, FINRA, FINRA. It's the financial institution,
regulatory
agency, yes. So
Google it, you'll get close enough.
Yeah,
You should be able to find it.
FINRA. If they are selling stocks, bonds, mutual funds, what's called a security, right? If they're selling that, then that's where they have to be licensed. But if they're not selling that, like we don't sell that stuff, that's not what we do, then we're not going to be there. Just like if they don't sell annuities, then they're not going to be on the California Department of Insurance website. Okay, so don't try to look for somebody in a place for products or services that they're not either experts in or that they're not offering. Okay, that's a little bit of a warning there.
Right, and you can look around on their website and you can search by name and a license number if that's provided and see were they have any complaints reported against them. Is there some enforcement actions? Do they get in trouble, do something wrong? There's one person we know and did some research on him, and he was changing the dates on the forms and resubmitting the same paperwork.
Forging documents, guys.
And also he could just kind of keep running the people's funds in a circle and get paid each time. That kind of stuff. It's not someone to stick around to.
Yeah, and that particular person is still in business. He was suspended for 5 years, but he's back in business as of last summer, a year ago summer. So I don't know why they don't put people like that either in jail or certainly just keep them from doing business. So double check. There's even another person here in this valley. It came to me on Friday. We looked them up, and we couldn't find their name because she's using it's either her maiden name. I don't know which one is which. I think she's using her maiden name because she got in trouble under her married name, and so she hid one of them. On her website, she does not have the license numbers or the contact because we couldn't figure it out, remember?
Also going under a shortened version of her middle name is what the first name is.
That's right. Her first name isn't even a real first name. So she's using a shortened version of her middle name. That's right. I want to say it's her maiden name. And what she had done is got in trouble and got busted and had to pay a fine under her real first name and her married name. So sometimes people make mistakes. We get it. All of us have been there. If you're in business more than 15 minutes, you're probably going to be sued, in California especially. People think you have money or this is just the entitlement victim state where everybody's deserving something. I get it. However, when you're doing things like forging documents or purposely hiding your name and not producing this stuff, then that research through the Department of Insurance and FINRA can really help clean that up a little bit. All right, next. Second thing that I want you to do.
Ask for referrals. If a friend told you about them, then that's a referral right there. But if you go to meet with them and you talk to them and they ask them, is there a client I can talk to and see their opinion? We've got a few clients who we've spoken with over the years who've said, yeah, if you have someone has questions, have them give me a call.
Yeah, here's what we do. You want to ask for referrals of people that look like you, meaning about your age, if you have children, married, about your income, when you're ready to retire. I'm going to retire in the next 3 years, or I've been retired for 5 years. So you want to see a mixture. Hopefully they have a mixture of clients where somebody that looks like you today and where you want to be. That's important if you're going to sit down and say, I want referrals, but not of somebody who's, no kids, 30 years old, and they were just starting their financial life, and you're going to be in your 60s ready to retire in the next few years. Those are different people, different skill sets from a financial professional's point of view. So ask until so that you can figure that out. Next, I want you to start slow. Don't be thinking that you have to walk in the door and give them everything. Now, we had a gentleman come to our office. It's been a couple of years now. And he had worked for a law enforcement agency, and he walked into my office and said, hey, I have an account I want you to work with. It's some money I inherited from my mother. Okay. So we looked at it. I said, okay, I can help you with this. It was a small account, under $10,000. No problem. And we have to do what's called a suitability profile. Make sure this isn't your life savings. We have to ensure that you have money set aside for emergencies and those kind of things. So as I'm asking these questions, he has another $400,000 or $500,000 off to the side in another account in the market. I said, would you like any help with that account? He said, nope, I'm happy where that is. Okay, great. Then let's deal with this other smaller account. So at the end, as we're filling out paperwork, I said, so would you like me to help you? Yes. So as we're filling out the paperwork for that particular account, he said, can I ask you something? I said, yeah. He says, why aren't you making me give you that $400,000? I said, well, did you want to give that to us? And he said, no, I'm happy with where it is. I said, well, then that's fine. He said, well, let me tell you, I went to one of those, and we're going to just say a two-name fund, right? The Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Charles Schwab, Edward Jones, one of those kinds of companies, Raymond James. He said, I went to one of those companies, and they said that if they don't have everything, they don't want anything. And I said, I hope you walked away from those guys. He said, I didn't walk. I ran. I said, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Because any financial professional should have to prove themselves to you. Now, later, he ended up giving us some other funds for him for his retirement. But at the beginning, he said, let's start slow. I think that's okay. And a financial professional should be all right with that. We've got another one that's pretty important.
And this one is really, with today's world of teleworking and phone, and you can do everything over the email. Have you actually met them in person? Have you been to their office? Do they have a staff? Do they have a physical location? Or is someone else we know of, does he meet you in Denny's?
Right. Yeah, the guy that we think is still scamming people puts the business through somebody else's name. In other words, he says, oh, you know what, I'm going to have one of the ladies that work in my office. I'm going to have her name go on it. I'm already wealthy. I'm already successful. I'm going to help her establish herself. Basically, of course, in the end of the story, he's the good guy. But the reason is because he can't get appointed with the companies because they all fired him.
One of those companies actually, they're the one who turned him in after some of the stuff he did.
Yes, but they don't even know that she is working under him. I mean, you understand the sneakiness? And this happens because they work in a place where the client has never really visited the office. They've met in restaurants. They have met in at the client's home. Well, those things are nice for conveniences, I get it, but do they have a real office? Do they have a place and a staff that you can go visit? Are they working from the trunk of their car? I mean, you realize in every business we all have to meet people sometimes at funky hours in the middle of the night, funny places. I get it. But you still should be able to go to their office. You still should be able to visit them. You still should be able to make sure you touch, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, whatever the hours are, that there is a human being there and you can call and get somebody.
And even you can look them up on Google Maps. They say this is their address, and you could look that address up, and it's a house, or it's a mail center, it's a post office box. Something might be a little iffy there. And
yeah, we've seen that a lot when we do our research to find out if the person's doing the right thing. We'll often see them at one of the mailbox type, et cetera, places, and that's a dangerous thing. Again, may not be anything wrong. They might still be a great person and not a scam artist, I understand. But this is your financial life. You need to do your due diligence and find out if it's where you want to be. Hey, thanks for staying with us. Thanks for being with us this hour of the program. You can always get a hold of us at tfswealth.com or 888-99-RETIRE. That's 888-99-RETIRE. Have a wonderful day.